You're listening to Ffopj Radio.
Reach the
Hey everybody and welcome to the show. My name's Dave and this is a Fistful of Podcasts from Fistful of Podcasts. No, God, again, dang it. Okay, it's not from that. It's from ffopradio.com. I had to change the intro just to something completely different because that one is so ingrained. Whatever. Hey guys, it's me, Dave.
I thought I was going to be the first person to screw up, and here you go.
I've done it consistently, like every show for the past however long. Ever since the Chinese company took over my website, it's been
Tencent. They bought you up.
It's been a rough breakup. You know what I mean? Anyway, you've already heard his voice. Let's go ahead and peel back the veneer. We've got PJ, Paul, Paulie, Status Food, etc., back on the show. Welcome.
Am I like a grapefruit or an orange?
Did I miss something?
You said you wanted to peel back. So am I like a grapefruit or even a banana?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm more like an onion because there's more layers.
Oh,
PJ.
People are crying. This is not good.
No, not this. Well, yeah, of course, because it's all raw emotion.
Everything is raw emotion when they start crying, when I start talking.
You don't want to be like a banana because it's just the one layer and then that's it. You want to be an onion, or what else has layers that doesn't necessarily make you cry?
Garlic?
Yeah, you're like a piece of garlic. Let's just say that.
I mean, it's still oniony.
It's in the ssame family. Let's introduce Chris because she is always over there on the couch.
I am always on the couch.
I should have booted up the sound machine. Woe is me. Anywho, PJ.
We're off to a fantastic start, everybody.
Yeah.
I hope
Next time.
Strap in. Let's go.
It is. We're blowing the doors off the hinges, people, because as we get further and further into the future, as time goes on, I am winging it more and more because I feel overconfident. And then stuff like this happens, and then I have to address it, and we burn minute after minute of the show with me addressing, and I have to, whatever. So there we go. I burned a few more minutes.
Yep.
PJ, let's talk about you for the rest of the show, hopefully. Let's check in with Play No Save. Have we made any progress? Have we made any headway? Or what am I trying to ask here?
What's going on?
Yeah, is anything new
All right,
broken, or are we still sticking to format? Have we not released a podcast or anything yet?
So the goal with Play No Save was always like, let's just release stuff as we want to. There is no like time frame as to when things are going to happen. So my goal with my partner was to make sure that he had a space in which he can record things consistently. Mm-hmm. Because for me, I'm always open. Nothing's changing. My co-partner with Play No Save has kids. Life changes, as you know.
Oh yeah, it gets complicated, but you gotta roll with it.
You make things work.
Mm-hmm.
So like with him he was dedicating an entire space in his house just for things like this. And now that it's coming to fruition, so like our content can be more consistent. Me and him have been playing consistently Divinity Original Sin 2 for the past like 3 weeks, almost a month, honestly. I for the longest time have told him, I'm like, hey, I'm not going to play Divinity Original Sin until you're ready to go. Because I'm like, I know you will like it. I know you will like this game. But you need to trust me and just play it. And he's like, yeah. He just did this whole like, blew me off for the longest time. Then he played Disco Elysium, which is kind of like the intro drug to that type of game.
Okay, so
and then I was like, dude, he's like, oh man, I love Disco Elysium. Like it's really good. And I'm like, then play this goddamn game with me.
So hold on. We have to unpack this a little bit for the layman inexperienced with this type of game. What are we talking about here with Disco Elysium? Unpack that gameplay a little bit for me.
All right, so Disco Elysium, for anybody who's not like has no clue what Disco Elysium means. Disco Elysium is a game where there's no combat, there's no fighting whatsoever.
What's the
The game
game?
is literally based on dialogue options and decisions that you make throughout the entire game.
Okay.
It is arguably one of the best games that came out in 2020.
Is it like essentially a choose your own adventure book in video game form, right?
Kind of. You can like when you build the game, it is based off of Dungeons and Dragons to a T.
Okay.
But like you can build your character to have 0 strength.
But
No strength.
then how do they
you
do
can't
curls?
open the door. But like it will affect your gameplay. And I'm like but that's the thing. Like I love games like that. Like you just do what you want.
Well, so
like you don't have to be a strong
yeah,
character.
You're saying you basically okay. So your example confused me because
So
then
it's
I'm like,
not a video game. It's a D&D game.
well, but it is a video game. It's a video
It is,
game
yeah.
around the D&D mechanics.
It was on PC initially, then it came out onto PlayStation.
Oh.
And that was where like it broke boundaries for itself, because on PC, like there are tons of people who play PC games. Like that's PC games is a very wide open range. But when you hit PlayStation,
Money.
yeah, like PlayStation has a huge player base that you can hit people who may not necessarily like gravitate towards your games, but when they see a game like this, that it may catch their eye. And like the great example of this is my friend, who had been telling for the longest time that he would love Divinity, and then he was like, "Oh my god, like Disco Elysium." He was so obsessed with it, and I'm like, "Dude, just fucking play Divinity with me."
So now
It
I'm
is
getting
Disco
interested.
Elysium, except way more freedom as to your character and like how you want to build, how you want to play,
Well, so-
and it's co-op.
Hold on,
and like
slow down for me and break it down for me a little bit. So let's jump to what's the newest one?
Divinity.
Divinity.
Divinity Originals in 2.
What are we looking at here as far as gameplay and mechanics? Are you running around as a character, like over the shoulder, first person? What are we
So
talking
it
about?
is isometric.
Okay.
Which so like you're third person, like looking down at an angle.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah.
But
The Batman
your
angle.
you are basically playing live action Dungeons and Dragons, because the same company who's making Divinity is currently making Baldur's Gate 3. You cannot get more Dungeons and Dragons than Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate is the only game that exists like in the sphere of games, even in modern day, that is Dungeons and Dragons.
So how do the mechanics work? Like if you're fighting,
You're not fighting.
well, because but in Dungeons and Dragons you have to fight monsters and dragons and crap. Like when you come across that, how does that work?
Everything
Is it like
you do in game is based off of dice rolls,
so they
interactions.
do they literally roll
everything.
dice for you in the game?
Yes, they do.
That's insane.
Yep.
I can't believe how like it's like we have an Ouroboros. It's a snake eating its own tail.
Yeah, I mean, so like when it comes down to the fact where you're like doing these rolls, you're doing a lot of these rolls to determine. No.
Jesus Christ, BJ.
But-
I swear to God,
So,
it
yes.
wouldn't be a show with you if it weren't for somebody else in the background.
I'm gonna make ramen,
If
okay?
Yassi just asked, she just looked at me and said, "Cinnamon rolls."
Oh my God, yeah.
I told.
Is she like the least like social? Maybe not socially, but like spatially aware person. Like, are you not wearing headphones?
No, that 100% on purpose. There's no way that.
Okay, I'm glad. As long as she's doing it on purpose, I can respect that. Like if she's doing it against
Yeah,
me, I get it.
I wish I could have recorded, because before she said it, she gave me the finger, looked at me, grabbed something out of the counter, and then just said, "Cinnamon rolls."
Wow, I can't believe someone so close to the show hates it so much. That's awesome.
All right. Well, anyway, so yeah. Yeah, so you roll dice.
Okay.
Like it's just the nature of the beast in Dungeons and Dragons is the dice.
Right.
And in all of the games attached to it, the dice rolls still exist. And that is what makes those games. Like, you cannot have those games without dice rolls.
Right. I totally agree with you, because it's based on chance. Because if you go in with rules to your character or like whatever, it takes away living in the moment.
Correct. And like I tell people all the time, because I have half the people who are playing in our game have never played D&D before. And like they're close friends of mine. And I'm just like, I'm trying to like ease them into what's going to happen.
Like a good first time always is.
And I'm like, hey, it's okay to fail. Sometimes you are going to fail spectacularly.
Hey, it's okay.
And it is 100% okay.
Yeah.
Because it is what makes the game. Like, people failing, people reacting to things that happen.
Yeah.
Like, that is
all
what the game entails.
D&D is pretty zen. Like, you get to live out crazy tales of might and magic as, like, goblins or cat people or whatever, the dragonborn. So many flavors. And with such low stakes, I can't imagine anyone ever getting upset during a game of Dungeons and Dragons because it seems like just utter... like if it's your thing and you can dive into role playing like that, it must be like incredible. I've never done like the actual full blown no training wheels.
You're gonna learn because like me and Rob, like we had a core friend group for years that like we were playing campaigns together, and it was oh my god, it was so much fun. Like we had a really good DM, and I think that's what really makes it at the end of the day is your DM needs to be very good.
Right,
they need to be knowledgeable. They need to understand the game, and they just need to understand creativity. Like our DM would just kind of go on the flow. Like we would change things, we might do things that he wasn't expecting, and he would just roll with it.
Yeah,
and that was like. That made a huge difference because he just had a huge imagination. And
yeah, it's totally like if you can just disengage and like check into the not actual, obviously, but the actual fantastic scenario that you're in. It's just like writing or anything else like that. If you can follow the process of reality, and that's maybe why I can't find people around here who want to play. What's that game that I love that no one's Fiasco. Because you need to be able to let go and just sort of jump into a character. And that's what I think D&D is great for. Because you can disconnect so much, like even as going as far as being a completely different species. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the thing that was crazy to me was when I started I was like, oh, I'm going to buy some more D&D stuff. Because when I play D&D, the 5th edition, which is like the current edition, had just come out. And at that time, like everyone was like, don't play 5th edition. We're going to play 3rd edition or 3.5. I was like, oh, that's fine. I have no idea what that means in any context.
Me neither.
So we were always playing 3.5. And I was like, great, cool. But like now looking back at it, there's an entire separate game called Pathfinder, which is based off of Dungeons and Dragons 3.5. So, like, there's Dungeons and Dragons 3.5 and Pathfinder,
what's
Dungeons and Dragons 3.5.
What happens every time there's a new codifying of the rules? Like when they say this is the new codex, basically what happens?
So, like, at the end of the day, everything is up to the DM. Whoever your dungeon master is, game master, whatever you're playing, it's up to them to determine the rules. So you want to play with a DM that you kind of jive with to an extent because at the end of the day, like they can change the rules. Like as I've been like building this this one shot for us to do, I'm like thinking about it. I just want to appeal to everyone and make it good for everyone to play. Fun. Like that's at the end of the day, I want everyone to have a good time.
Yeah.
Playing. And I want people to think. I want people to like do different things because D&D isn't just about combat fighting things. It's about thinking.
Yeah.
And like
it's
and
a very
just enjoying your time in the space.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, PJ. I can obviously feel the passion burning off of you.
Yeah.
D&D really appeals to those people who can disengage and sort of click in. But that's you sort of have to see that too. Like even in D&D, there's room for a warrior, like worker bee, like in the barbarian and the everything like that. it's so crazy to me that even in this world of high fantasy and like, you're going on these amazing quests, landscapes and yada yada all over New Zealand. And there's still dudes out there and ladies out there who want to be basically just the barbarian, the Conan, the Amazon. Just like, you know what? I'm going to swing my sword at everything. I don't care about magic. I'm just here to cut shit up.
There will always be those kind of people in the world.
Yeah, it's so crazy. It's like everybody on Earth in a microcosm is in every D&D game. And I'm looking forward to, full disclosure, we are going to be playing one that's not going to be like any other live situation or record or otherwise. So I thought we would take this opportunity and PJ could help me like work through my character that I'm going to play, and maybe we'll see, something will come out of it, because I'm picking a character species that I would never pick in my life.
That's true.
I'm excited to see what you pick, because I brought a lot of people into this game. I brought people I've been playing the Divinity game with, like in live action on PlayStation with, and they were like, "Oh, this game is so much fun." And I'm like, "It's D&D, guys. Like, if you want to play D&D, let's just play it. Like, Divinity is D&D. You aren't getting a better D&D game than Divinity.
Well,
like, it's just not happening."
Yeah. So I've decided to be a tabaxi.
Okay.
Now, for those uninitiated, a tabaxi apparently is a cat person. And I was like, okay, what should I pick? Because I was going through all the characters, and everybody gravitates toward the one that like is the coolest aesthetically. Because I gravitated toward like the Dragonborn, or your cool dudes who can summon things like druids, or your magicians, or your wizards, or whatever.
Magicians.
Your goblins and your party magicians, etc. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do something I don't normally do, I might as well do it all the way in a way I would never do it. So I was like, what do I...
So the question is, what class are you going to play as a tabaxi?
Probably a rogue.
That fan-fucking-tastic. I am so glad that you said rogue.
So I've been picking people's brains, full disclosure. I'm not going into this ass backwards.
All right.
So I did look up a little, traits and such. So, and obviously if you're a cat person, you're going to be swift, and strength is not going to be your thing. So I have to play to that. I'm
Correct.
not an idiot, even though I've never played Dungeons and Dragons before. I know how games work. So now, so when we make this character, what do I have to do I have to write down something to know for always, essentially, or what's going on here? Do I need to print something out?
So it's because we're playing online, things change.
Okay.
Playing online obviously changes everything.
So are you going to keep the records, or you going to be the scribe or town scribe?
So the way things are going to work is everyone's going to send me a character sheet. Mm-hmm. The best way to do so is D&D Beyond, which is a website and an app on your phone.
Why didn't you tell me that before the show when I was asking you how we're going to do this during the show, and you're like, blah, 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 and I forgot what you said.
Well, okay, so we can pull up we can walk you through this on D&D Beyond.
Please, thank you. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
Go to the Google.
I'm going to the Google.
Yeah.
So
D&D Beyond is the most popular in terms of character building.
Believe you me, I've heard of it. Just kidding, I never heard of it.
Yeah, no, it's very consistent in that frame. Everybody I've told that's been in the game that's fairly new, I'm like, hey, if you want to learn how to play characters and stuff, build a few characters on D&D Beyond. It's fairly easy to build a character on D&D Beyond.
Join?
Oh, just give him a fake email if you want.
But then then the government knows I have a fake email.
Okay, if it makes you feel better, we have somebody who works with the government that's going to be playing with us.
Oh my!
One of my best friends is is
he a spy? Oh, don't tell me he'll get compromised in the field.
No, he does internet security for the government.
So why it says choose your username and it won't let me change a username? Help me! I need tech support. It says Brernor Battlehammer.
Pick a name,
I can't.
whatever you want.
I click on it and nothing happens. PJ, help! I need an adapter. I'm in Europe.
I did it on my phone.
Then I'll have to
You're also-
download an app. Hold on, let me refresh the page. I know people are riveted to their seats. Hold on, people. I'm hitting refresh.
In the meantime, I will talk through people with this. So, like, okay, so Dave wants to play a Tabaxi. Tabaxi is like a cat character. They have a lot of dexterity. They also have a decent amount of charisma, which means that, like, not only can they play a rogue who is relatively good at their job, they can also play a well-liked rogue, which is also very uncommon, which makes for interesting gameplay. So, like, the people that I've told that this is their first time into D&D, and I'm like, you guys, like, people are so focused on building perfect characters, and I'm like, don't build the perfect character.
I'm looking to make a broken-ass character.
That is not, like, playing in D&D, your job is to not build a perfect character because you want to be broken. You want to have flaws.
Okay.
Like, that is,
I think I'm logged in.
your goal is to have flaws. And like, the best gameplay comes from characters who have flaws and can't do things perfectly. Like, I cannot stress that enough.
Yeah, but that's the whole point of a role-playing game is you're like, everything is in the moment. So, but PJ, I've got a problem here. I don't have a Tabaxi tab on this this website under race, so I don't know what to do.
There isn't a Tabaxi.
Jesus H Christ! I'm in unknown waters here. Can I be an Akorkra? Can you?
So we may have to change it. So
obviously,
for now we may have you. Obviously, yeah.
So here are my options. The Akorkra, whatever that is, a bird person looks like. We got a dragonborn, the dwarf, the classic elf, the Genasi. Is that a thing?
We're probably just gonna have you create. I'm looking at the Tabaxi features right now, and I'm probably just gonna have you create a human on there.
Okay.
And we'll pretend
Because
you're a cat.
Tabaxi has like specific things, but like,
Well, what if I pivot to be like a half orc or something?
you can do that too.
Because
So to be honest, a half orc rogue would be hilarious.
all right. Well, what's a Goliath? Is that what I'm thinking it is? Obviously by the name.
Please be a Goliath.
Is it a huge? Just how tall?
Goliath? The base, the minimum of like height requirement for a Goliath is like 7 feet tall.
All right. I mean, that's
So
not...
if you want to be a Goliath rogue, that would be hilarious.
Well,
because you would be 7 foot tall.
I don't know what
rogue.
class I'm gonna be yet, so I'm still on the fence about
right.
my.
You already chose rogue.
No. If I was a Tabaxi, I was going to be.
all right.
So we're pivoting. This is all
like,
live.
Goliath
people.
is I have people playing a wide range of characters from all these different like backgrounds. So I 100%, if you want to play a Goliath, go for it.
All right. I'm locking in. So
All right.
I've got
Goliaths are hilarious because
here. I got face tattoos. That's nice.
yes. So like one of the things that has so in the past like 2 years, Dungeons and Dragons, for those who don't know, has increased in its popularity by 4 times.
And plus, I'm sure the pandemic was like a godsend.
Yeah, so the pandemic helped a lot, but like if you think about it, like I was talking to a friend earlier today, and I was like, hey, when I was younger, like a friend of mine from around the corner was moving, and they were offering me all these things. I didn't know what the hell they were. When I thought back about it, they were giving me like maps and books and all kinds of stuff about D&D, and I had no clue what it was. I was like 12, maybe 11. I had no clue what they were giving me.
Yeah.
It was a treasure trove of like so much stuff, and I was like, I wish that when I was that age, I had known what that was.
Oh yeah,
because
but that's the thing. You people are always handing stuff off to kids or younger generations, being like, "Oh, know what this is," and if you don't click them in when you're giving it to them, it's just like, "Oh, okay, thanks," and then it sits around, and you have to come to the awakening yourself. And by then it's too late.
yeah,
You got
but
rid
like
of it.
it's. But also at the same time, I'm glad that like D&D, for instance, is just getting a lot more well known because like it's I think it's good for kids to at least, even if they don't like it, to see it.
Yeah, it's like an imagination stretching game.
Experience it because it opens up their imagination to other things that they may not think about.
Yeah, totally. So,
and even if they don't like it, like it opens up their imagination to what they see on a daily basis, and it's like, oh, there's all of these other things that they could think about, and I think that's what I like about it the most.
Yeah, and it's like all the other role playing games too, but I think Dungeons and Dragons gets a bad rap because of the fantasy aspect. You know what I mean? Like it always seems like fantasy gets a bad rap, but like sci-fi gets a little more of a pass, and like action RPG sort of gets even more of a pass. And since it's splintered, also you get horror RPGs and stuff. But I feel like there's D&D still is it like that baseline of the RPG world. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say, but all of those games, the baseline of those games and everything comes from D&D. All of them.
Yeah.
Everything that we think of in like the modern sphere of that comes from D&D. D&D created all the RPGs that I play. Everything comes from that.
You know, and maybe that's what it is. It's a gateway drug of this sort of thing. Like if it hooks you, like if the structure of D&D hooks you, like the dice and the characters and everything, you can jump into anything else because it's all the same mechanics. You just have to hold your nose and jump into something so you can find. I think D&D is the most accessible because if you're going to find someone who's going to play an RPG, that person has played Dungeons and Dragons. Like I reach out to people to be like interested in the Call of Cthulhu role playing game or whatever, all the horror games, and it's like, there's small pockets here or there, but you need D&D and that huge pool for people to jump in and be like, the mechanics I like, but the aesthetic take or leave. You know,
I would like you said, Cthulhu RPG, I'd 100% be into because I've played D&D. Like I understand
because you like the mechanics,
core concepts of it,
and are not.
I love the mechanics of it. Like, and also just I know from playing D&D with like a core group of people, like how much fun it is, how much like that core group. It's not necessarily like the mechanics are going to blow you away because they're not. They're very basic. Well, it's the experience that you have with the people that you're playing.
I have a question, like a mechanical question now, because I'm looking at this website. What is the difference between a sorcerer, a warlock, and a wizard? Because they all seem like magical dudes.
You can cast.
Is that it? What does a sorcerer do that a warlock can't?
It's the spells. Now I will 100% say that I do not know.
Well, do they each have like a flavor
by heart
or what?
When it comes to spellcasters, my knowledge is limited.
That's crazy. And druid is essentially another wizard, but just from a different part of the country.
The cool thing of druids is druids can shapeshift.
Yeah, that's the thing. Eric from Slothfist brought that to my attention. And that's what I'm gravitating towards as I'm looking at this list. But I want to go something that I would go anti typically. So maybe I'll go, like, I'm thinking maybe cleric or paladin, something related to Jesus, or I guess Jesus doesn't exist in Dungeons and Dragons, does he?
What the information that I will give you is there are only 3 people I have that are a general idea of what the hell they're going to play.
Well, so that's why we're doing this, PJ. Thanks for checking in. That's why we're here. You're helping me in this one.
I want you to. I don't want people to overlap because, like, in a group, want some kind of group. So dynamic.
Tell me what is off limits then.
The one character that is completely off limits is Paladin.
Okay, so monk is a religious guy, cleric is a religious guy, druid is a semi-religious guy.
Do a monk.
Yeah. So. I know for a fact that one of my characters is probably gonna pick wizard or
wizard. A wizard did it.
He's gonna pick something wizardy.
Okay.
Whatever. It doesn't matter at that point. But the other character is probably going to pick Druid.
All right, I'm going.
So if you want to do Monk,
yeah, I'm going Monk.
100% go fucking for it. Because I love monks.
I'm a Goliath monk. I'm going to write this down.
That would be fantastic.
Goliath monk. Almost as good as a Tabaxi rogue, I'm sure. If you're getting any of this.
And the thing that I like to tell people is the best part about D&D is everything is super expressive.
Well, in what way?
The Dungeon Master tells you in terms of ambience of the area, everything you need to pay attention to because it plays into the game. The Dungeon Master is telling you information because you need to know that information.
Well, he's the storyteller.
Yes, and also when you can ask them for more information based on like surroundings, like I want to search this or I want to search that, and you can do a check, in which case you roll a dice, and then you can potentially find out more information about that.
It's so
because
you know what's crazy, PJ, is like it's literally the game of life, like what you and I do every day. It's that. Because every time you make a decision, you throw it up to the hands of fate anyway. You're just literally doing that here. Except you get to do it in your imagination as a goblin, and it makes no difference when you could be doing it in your real life. That's why I think I brought this up before, but I can't believe more people aren't using their imagination they build in D&D in real life and like blowing people away with like skill checks because there is no die. If you just throw it out there and it doesn't work, they just go and you lose some charisma points in real life.
I mean, it's just crazy. Like a lot of things that you do in that game translate pretty well, honestly, to other things that you do. So I was lucky enough that when I started playing, I had a really good DM, and he was very expressive and determined, like creating the atmosphere that we were in and like everything that was going on. And he was very good at changing things on the fly because we were always constantly like doing things that he probably wasn't expecting, and he was just willing to change his story to accommodate to what we were doing. And that, I think, made a huge difference in my initial experience with D&D. Like, he was very good at that. Like,
I wonder,
incredibly good.
I would like to try eventually, maybe, because the Dungeon Master seems like it was tailor-made for me. Like, if you need someone to blow hard and make up stuff, I'm your man. And it seems like one of those jobs, because or roles, whatever you want to say, your characters, because you're essentially playing God. So
yeah, essentially, yeah.
So I think like if you can think on the fly, why even make a plan? Like say, hey, here's a rough outline. Because if you're looking to break a plan anyway, it's like why make one? Except for like a very bare bones. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like for those who are listening, like the bare bones plan that I gave all of the players, including Dave, was that like I gave them a general idea of what the outworld is in the game. The outworld is that there are multiple clans, conglomerates, whatever the hell you want to call them, of people who control power in the world based off of a different element. And every generation, there is somebody born into that group of people who has a power from that element who can help them progress their power. Some people use that aggressively and try to kill the other clans and reduce their power while gaining more power themselves, because that power has to be reborn. So if you have a person who is 30 years old and kills an 18-year-old person that is controlling that power gets reborn into a 1-year-old, someone who's not even like a newborn.
Right.
So you have 18 years of extra power to use for yourself. So some people use that aggressively to kind of control the world.
Right. So,
and that is the general outline of the world in what I've been doing.
But now I have questions, PJ, because you're saying that these tribes all control a certain element, right?
Every tribe has one element that they have like a distinct power.
So fire, water, earth, air, etc.
Fire, water, earth, air, light, dark.
Oh, so we're going like the 10 path instead of the
It doesn't have to
four?
be. Yeah, it's not the like very very basic. It's more like there are multiple.
So each of these elements pulls from the same source, essentially, is what you're telling me. Because if one can strike down the other, like nature abhors a vacuum, so obviously the whoever is stronger will fill that void. But then wouldn't it just be a perpetual cycle, possibly, if like the strong keeping the other powers murdered?
Yeah, no, 100. So when you think like when I was thinking about the idea, I'm like, well, obviously, if I have dark and light in there, wouldn't dark just try to keep everybody down? Yes, it would. Dark is perpetually trying to keep everybody else below it. So dark would be the element constantly trying to keep everybody under it, which would mean that in my game, dark would be like a dark elf, which would be a drow, which are hated by most people, and drow have a very like hedonistic idealism. So like also on top of that, drow females run the society. Drow males are like slaves. So it's very like
Bizarre.
Like my whole it's interesting. Like so like my idea was like, and I also played games where I had like drow after me. So I was like, oh, this would be really cool. I can have like drow as like the dark people in the game, and I can also have like drow male following the example of like the females who are telling them what to do.
Yeah.
Like this is like a cool idealism because the females are literally forcing them to do things because there's how their society works.
It's pretty philosophical of you, PJ. I don't know if you're ripping it off wholesale from somewhere or not, but the fact that it's essentially all 10 paths on the compass, according to whatever philosophical way you want to break it down. But when you're breaking down the elements, it's interesting that you not only do earth and all the tangible stuff, but the light and the dark and all that other stuff. So what made you think of using this format and this sort of elemental tug of war?
The entire idea behind the entire game came from a dream.
Okay.
I woke up one day, wrote a dream down. I had like this really like I woke up one day and I was like, oh my God. Like it was one of those like vivid dreams. I tend to write down or keep track of a lot of like incredibly vivid dreams that I have when I wake up.
Yeah. I think we've spoken about this before. Yeah. Your recorders
I just have to like write it. Whether I do anything with it or not is another thing. But like there's sometimes where I have a dream and it's like incredibly vivid. I wake up and I'm like, I need to remember this. And I'll grab my phone and just start writing notes. It doesn't even need to be like, it doesn't need to make entire sense. Just something so that I can remember it. Because
cut to the relevant details of this game.
Yeah. But like in terms of like this game, like all of those ideas came from a dream I had years ago, and it was something that I wanted to use in D&D world. But I was like at the time frame, I was like, okay, I'm not really playing any DMs, I'm not really writing any books, so I'll just put this story to the side. And now, as I was like, people want to play D&D, I was like, great, like, we can play D&D. I want to kind of explore something in this time frame, and if people like it. And people decide that they want to do maybe something on a more consistent basis, maybe a campaign, or like we do something like once a month or whatever, regardless. But I'm like, I want to explore something in this time frame because I really like the idea behind everything going on in the world. And that was like something that I wanted to bring up to people and see how people felt about it. And if people really liked not only playing D&D, but also just like the story. I'm like, I can explore this and we can play this out together through something like that so you guys can enjoy it too. It's not just something that in my mind.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I want to ask you something off topic of the D&D stuff. Do you like, this has come up a lot in interactions on this show and beyond. Do you consider yourself an elemental person? Like I've clicked back in with this the martial arts community, which is big into elementals. Like, do you think of situations or people in that way? Are you like, that person is, fire, water, air, yada, yada, yada? Are you that type of person? Are you more logically based?
Not necessarily, but I just, I don't think I am elementally based. I just
Okay.
think I'm logically based.
Right. But something must have triggered this. If you're not only, it'd be one thing if it were just the physical elements, like I said, but you're bringing in the yin and the yang, essentially, the dark and the light. So it's a much more complex system. So you're looking at the universe as a whole instead of like a microcosm of just the Earth or whatever realm this D&D game would take place in.
If I looked back at what was going on in my life at the time when I thought about this, I can 100% say that Avatar introduced it.
So are you just saying
Like,
that it was a leeching of culture and a melding of ideas?
Pretty much. Like there are many times where I've had reoccurring dreams. Anytime I've had a reoccurring dream where I distinctively remember things happening in my dream and then it happens again, I've always written it down.
So this one you've had before, right? So the one we're talking about, the game is based on, you've had before.
I've had multiple times. So like I wrote it. I've the second time that I had it, I wrote it down. Like I was like, this is something that I want to remember.
Let's go through it then. If you've written it down, can you tell it?
I mean, to an extent, I don't want to give too much away because I don't want to screw anything up for the
Well,
game.
if not, there's no problem. Like I can think on my feet, and you're not. Here's the problem, PJ. Stories are stories
What's
are
up?
stories are stories. So
Yeah.
I will never. I'm not one of those guys who goes, oh no, I want a mystery. Like the mystery is in life. The mystery is in the moment. I don't care where it ends. It's going to be what happens while we're going on. So don't worry about spoilers. But if you are listening and you are worried about spoilers and you're one of those people, tune out for whatever. Bye. I'm not worried about that. So tell me what's up with this dream. I want to hear about it.
So in this particular dream with the elements, there was one particular element, obviously the dark, because like, why would it be anything other than the dark? The dark are the people who are trying to control everything else. They don't want light. They don't want any of the other elements progressing whatsoever.
Right.
So they're like forcing a control over everything else. And it would depend on what like.
Well, can I
what
ask
was
you a
using,
question really
like, the
quick
medium.
to clarify?
Yeah.
When we're talking about these people, put me in situ. Where are you in this dream? Are you above? Are you aware of this situation happening, or are you part of like? Put me where you are.
I'm kind of watching.
Okay.
So like when it came to this dream,
Third person omniscient.
yeah. So it would be third person.
Okay.
So like in this dream, it was kind of something that I was like watching and seeing happen, which is what happens with a lot of my dreams. I don't really. A lot of the dreams that I end up writing out, I don't actually first person them. It's always third person.
Right.
So it's something that I've like kind of watched over from abroad. Regardless.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I got you. Okay. I'm clocked in.
But like, so with this one, it was like at the time I was thinking about it, I was actively playing D&D at the time. I had a campaign running. Avatar was still going really hard, and I think that was like the mixture of me playing my games, watching the Avatar show on Nickelodeon at the time, plus other things. It just like created this thing in my mind where I was like, oh, it would be really cool, I guess, if the world was determined by all these different groups, and like one group was trying to like strong arm the other groups, and it had to do a lot with like, if you kill a person, they're reborn, and then there's like an 18-year period where they're really weak because that person has to come to age where they can actually do anything to make a difference. And it gives like a power struggle between like all these different elements and whatnot. And like one element could try to control all the other elements, and it's just a constant struggle in a world where...
So let me ask you this. In this recurring dream, do we have plot resolution as you are having it? Does one, is there resolution to what I'm getting at? When you have this dream over and over again, is there a winner declared, or is it been something you've been in the dark, no pun intended about for the dark side, for, as long as you've had it?
There has never been a single plot resolution in any single one of my dreams.
Interesting.
So every time I've written them down, I've never had a resolution to them.
So you're just having the
I
same
had a zombie dream that I wrote an entire script. I have an entire fucking script based off a zombie film that I wrote when I like 10 years ago. Me, Rob, and a friend of ours wrote an entire script, and we have no resolution. It was a zombie dream that I had like 3 times, and I was like, I need to do something with this. I'm like, this is at the time when I wrote it, it was like, this is different. And then, like, I wrote it, and then I was like, "Oh God, there's so much zombie stuff. I don't want to."
Right. Let me run this up your flagpole and see if it means anything to you. But whatever your opinion on dreams are, I believe that it's because your subconscious mind does a lot of stuff constantly in the background. It's collecting data and giving you the information you need to make snap decisions, and it gets to go crazy when you go to sleep. So. When I was a kid, I was insanely afraid of zombies. Like, I saw, it was Dawn of the Dead, the second one in the series.
The remake?
No.
Or the
when
original?
I was a kid.
Oh, the original.
The 70s one. And I saw it way too early and got really fucked up by it. And all of my nightmares were always about zombies. And it was terrible. Chilled me to the bone. I was so scared of zombies. And then they popped big in the media, in movies and TV and comics. And I got so tired of them that my nightmares about zombies slowly turned into parodies, and I eventually lost them. So I think by getting forced into zombie culture and then getting tired of it and then being like, why was I ever afraid of these laughable characters? Because now they're doing Pride and Prejudice and zombies. Like, what? So so I'm thinking, not for nothing, but
yeah,
your dreams, and I know people love talking about dreams and love talking about dreams, but I think especially your dreams, regardless of the fascia of the like the Last Airbender connection, it feels like you've got. I think you're probably more of an elemental person than you think. You know what I mean?
Probably. I mean, I feel like I'm because of the dreams that I get, especially when I talk to people and tell them like, oh, I had these dreams that are like reoccurring like to a T, and
right?
And they're like, I've never had anything like that. I'm like, well, I've had that a bunch of times, so I guess that's not normal, apparently.
No, I think it's completely normal. It's just that if you want to draw a parallel from my story to yours, a lot of my zombie nightmares were carbon copies. Boom, boom, boom. Just different scenarios, like the same 3 over and over again. And those did not start to shift until I had, unwillingly processed, digested, and coped with my zombie fear. So, maybe, if you're not for nothing, I'm not here to be like, hey, whoa, time for some psychedelic freak out. But if you're having these reoccurring dreams and they all revolve around a topic, like, take a peek into that, because I'd be curious to see because, we're not getting information from nowhere. We're absorbing stuff all the time. So I imagine if I were to give you a little nudge somewhere and you were to take a look, I might be able to show you some stuff.
So, like, without going too crazy into detail on it, because it'll go like way off topic. my zombie dreams were mostly about it revolved around one person like understanding the whole zombie phenomenon and like reacting to it. So like,
okay.
The whole script that I had wrote was that one person understood like zombie movies, zombie everything.
Okay.
Like he got that to a T. Like he understood that, he saw the movies, he saw everything, but it didn't prepare him for what the fuck was gonna happen. Like he still got overwhelmed by it. He thought he knew, he thought he understood, he thought he was ready for stuff like that, and it threw him for a loop. And it ruined his like a really good friendship of his through that.
You know what,
and,
PJ?
Like that.
Not for nothing, but artists are often very in touch with concepts that are what they would put as seemingly beyond them. And I believe, despite the artifice here, you're definitely looking deeper, or you're reaching deeper than you're looking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, like when I thought about it, I was just like, zombie films are so like baseball. Like there's zombies and there's people trying to avoid the zombies. I'm like, there's so much more to it than that. Like,
right.
Do people understand the zombies? Like we've seen zombies our entire culture, especially now, like growing up, like zombie films have been around for fucking 50, 60 years.
Yeah.
So, like, we've seen those in our culture. So, like, if zombies show up, do we understand them? Do we understand, like, a base?
Yeah, so you're looking for, what's the concept that I was looking for? Like, self-awareness. You're looking for self-awareness in a character in that sort of situation, which I think, we all have to grapple with when it comes to the media and movies and television shows and stuff. You have to, as much as you want to run up and be like, no, you don't understand, here's how you would act. It does seem like in some of these movies they act even counterintuitive to like humans. Forget never seeing a zombie movie or a horror movie. They act completely counterintuitively to human beings.
Yeah.
So I can see your desire for a self-aware sort of, because you want that. Like, how do people in these movies and in these things get to where they are without ever having anything like this enter their culture? Like, at this point, we've had everything fly up our flagpole. We've had vampires and Frankensteins and werewolves and mummies and zombies and, birds and bats and bugs and everything, man.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, what our minds have gone through, like, at some point, something like that has to happen.
Yeah.
But like, to what extent does it happen? And then how does the mind react to that? Like, okay, well, there are these things out in the world now, but like, how are they to what I thought they would be? And then like you try to like transition that. And I think that was what my whole script idea was based around, was like, there was one character who understood he thought he would, like, he called himself the zombieologist. Like, that was his thing. Like, he understood zombies. I actually like dressed up as him for Halloween one year. Like, I have to pull it up at one point, but it was like from like 4 or 5 years ago. But like, that was the whole thing. Like, he thought he understood entirely how zombies would react, and then things were totally different.
What you're talking about is the art of living in the moment. Like, you can prepare till literal doomsday, but you have no guarantees on how literally anything will go ever. So yeah, like that's such a concept to touch upon, because if you can't live in the moment, no matter what zombie apocalypse, that was probably one of the things that broke the spell for me too, is like, in all the zombie movies, they are basically having to live in the moment because everything was destroyed. Like, you can't have a plan when you're living in a bunker with a bunch of other crazy people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can plan until your head explodes. And that's why I think D&D is a great thing for people to cultivate that skill, because you can make plans all day and night. But if you got someone like me who's going to be playing, who's interested in throwing monkey wrenches into things, or Trung, he's way worse than me.
Yes.
I was going to say, that's the whole thing. That's why. And to be honest, this is the biggest D&D group I've played with. You guys overall in total are going to be 7 people, which is
I'm interested to see how this goes, and I'll give reports to everyone listening if you're interested, because we, way back in the day, we did like a fake dry run thing that never made it to air.
Yeah. And
it was a comedy of errors because nobody was like letting go of themselves, and it was weird. Nothing happened. So now I think, being able to let go a little bit, especially with all these new people who I have, let's be real, I have no standards. Like, if my character sucks, I have no one to hold me accountable.
I will probably record this the whole session. I'm just interested because I have a wide array of people. So, like, I have all of my best friends playing D&D together for the first time.
I think it'll be an interesting experiment.
Is Rob doing it?
Yes, so Rob is playing. which he is an experienced D&D player. So Rob has played D&D.
Oh, I bet I'm going to get under his skin.
I bet you are.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for our interactions.
No, you won't. I 100% guarantee you will not get under Rob's skin because Rob used to drive me crazy in fucking D&D. So,
well, just because
if anything, you will probably be on the same wavelength as Rob.
Maybe we'll see. I think
Rob used to do things. So like. The great thing about D&D is you can play a character however you want to play them. And that is the best part of the game.
That's like life.
You don't have to make a perfect character. It's actually frowned upon to make a perfect character. Make a character who has flaws and play their flaws to a T. Live them through their flaws.
Yeah, here's some advice. Just model them after yourselves. But be real. Put your actual flaws in those characters too.
Yeah, like
if you're selfish, put it in there.
As I've been helping people like create characters, I'm like, God, I hope I can play another game one day where I can play a fucking gnome barbarian because that makes absolutely no sense, but I would do it 100% and be all in because a gnome barbarian.
You gotta break the mold, man.
But like a gnome barbarian would have a 3-foot weapon.
Yeah.
Whereas like an actual barbarian would have probably like a 6-foot weapon. But a gnome barbarian, what are you gonna? It's like a toothpick. He's swinging a fucking toothpick at you. But like, that's what I mean. Like, you have to like lay into it and just enjoy it. Rob. Like, there was a time where we played a game where he played a cleric, and he was a cleric who was terrified of fighting. So every time we would fight, he would do crazy things that would make the fights worse. But he played his character to a T. That was his character, and that was how he played.
Yeah.
And it made things interesting, that's for damn sure, because I was the tank, and I hated it, but...
this will be a fascinating experience.
Point. That is the whole point of D&D.
I
Play
can't wait
your
to be in the
characters
audience.
how you want to play them. Like, I have one of my best friends, his wife cannot wait to watch him play. She's been so excited. She's asking so many questions to me, and I'm just like, you just have to watch him play. Like, just enjoy it. Like, watch him play, because it's I can't explain anything more than like watching somebody play.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It is a weird thing to see.
Yeah, it's just totally different, because the thing is, like, if you're not like super in tune with like RPing, then you don't have to RP. You don't have to do a voice. You don't have to do whatever you want. Just play how you want to play. And that is the whole point of D&D. It's like, just enjoy it. It's meant to be enjoyed.
Yeah. So
like, the DM is not trying to kill you unless he's a terrible DM. DM will never try to kill the player controlled characters.
Probably as a rule, but
like I can assure you, all of you guys, that I am not trying to kill you.
No, I'm sure you're not. You seem like a benevolent god. So yeah, awesome, PJ. That I'm very excited as the time grows nigh. We'll have to see how it goes, and I can't. Maybe Rob and I will be on the same wavelength as far as that goes. So let's start wrapping it up, man. What do you got as far as staff recommendations? We already talked about sort of the D&D thing, so maybe something else. What else do you got that you're experiencing, you're doing, or new or old?
So I guess the only other thing I've been doing is I've been playing a consistent amount of Divinity, as I've been saying, obviously, because it's related.
I picked that up.
Yeah. So if you are somebody who plays games on PC or plays games on PlayStation, I would highly recommend playing Divinity, Original Souls 2.
I'm one of those.
I would recommend playing it with multiple people if you could, but you don't have to. You can play it solo. It's totally doable as a solo game. But
what a ringing endorsement.
Well, the thing is, I purposely waited to play that game in co-op.
There's some games that are made for that. It's
been out for years at this point. Like, I purposely waited. I bugged one of my best friends to play it. I was like, when you're ready to play it. And he's like, he gave me the whole like ring around for years, and then he played Disco Elysium, and I was like, he's like, oh, I love this game, and I was like, then you're gonna love this game. So and then he started playing with me, and we've been playing it nonstop for like 3 weeks. So it's just, you need, like, sometimes people need a gateway drug. Disco Elysium was his gateway drug. I knew he would like it because he's always loved RPG games. Like, I needed to get him in that door, and when he was like, "Oh, I love this game," and I was like, "You're gonna love Divinity. Just play Divinity." He's like, "I don't know." It's
Yeah, however you can get him in. You know, because I think everybody. I've said this before, but everybody should experience playing in a D&D game at least once, even if you never want to do it again. Do it once to see all of the ins and outs and bits and bobs. It's so crazy, and it's such a trip. Yeah, so if that's your thing into the video game aspect of it, PJ's got you covered. Where can we?
Divinity Original Sin 2 is like 100%. That's the goal.
Yeah.
If you like that, that's a gateway drug to D&D.
So throw out all of your. What's your obviously PlayNoSave.com, I imagine.
Yeah, PlayNoSave.com is like
still doing your. Is it weekly, bi-weekly? Refresh my memory.
It's whenever we release.
It's whenever.
Like at this point, it was. We were waiting until my buddy got his room set up, and then we were going to start doing podcasting. Now he's literally finishing up the last bit of it. Because he bought a house and like he was setting up his room, and I was like, I'm not in a rush to do anything. So when you are ready, we'll do it.
Yeah, you know, I get it. There's always like gonna be a niche to fill. So life happens, so you can't rush anything. Yes, yeah.
I was like, that's what I said. Like, I'm not gonna like rush this out. Like, I'm just doing this for fun. So you want to do it?
Do you do like streams and stuff?
I haven't done streams recently, but that doesn't mean I'm not gonna do them. So
all right.
If I do streams, it won't be under Play No Save. It'll be under Status Fu.
Yeah. If I catch wind of that, I'll sort of disseminate it to my ability. If you are interested, I will get you in contact with PJ for all of his stuff. Gosh. All right. Well, I'm excited. So here we go. I'm gonna hold my breath and jump in. Thanks for coming on the show, PJ. This was really great.
What are your guys' recommendations?
Oh, okay. I can't give one anymore. I feel like I've done so many shows in such a short amount of time because I'm trying to bank a bunch of stuff before we
Krista,
move.
what's your recommendation?
I'm in the same boat, man. I don't go anywhere.
Yeah, we're doing like 4 shows a week, man. I'm out of. I just
Do you
literally
like a particular diaper over another diaper? What's your
Pampers.
recommendation?
Pampers Cruisers. I guess 360 whatever.
They work pretty good.
Size 5 is what he's in now.
Yeah, you know.
We haven't had any blowouts, so in a long, long time.
That's the thing. It's pretty smooth. There's nothing outstanding at the moment. So yeah, that's the thing. Whatever. But you know, that's life. It ebbs and it flows. So we'll get it flowing in D&D pretty soon. So
yeah, I mean, if people like it and we want to do more, we can do a campaign. We can do it weekly or monthly or whatever. It doesn't matter.
My schedule. I'll look into it for you. How about that? I like to tell people.
I was going to say, if anything, it would be a monthly thing. It would not be
I like to tell people who give me excuses. Hey, schedules are the most flexible thing on the planet. And then I got to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm doing 4 shows a week and doing other projects with other people and doing other things with other people and my own side projects. And I'm like, oh, whoa. I don't have very much time left. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope you got something out of this, and maybe you'll get into D&D a little bit. I'm looking forward to it myself. Expand your horizons, check out something. So until next time, I am Dave.
I'm Krista.
And I'm Ffopj.
Say, you know, roll that dice, man, because fate will take you where it wants. See you next week.
Bye.
Or they try to.
Fistful of Podcasts Radio.